Good evening, it's 8 o'clock. I'm Sally Burdett, live from Johannesburg. Your top stories this evening.
We are determined to stay the course. We are undaunted by the considerable difficulties that may come our way and those that we still have to overcome.
President Cyril Ramaphosa delivers his State of the Nation address in Cape Town. Jobs, help for the poor and investment, the major priorities. Also, new plans for Eskom and a hard-hitting approach to fighting corruption.
Commissioner, do you believe that Bosasa corrupted you? Did they? No. What do you say?
Bad day for former Correctional Services Commissioner Linda Mthi. He's granted bail after handing himself over to police. He's been accused of corruption involving Bosasa. And two blazes in Cape Town, now contained, but a dramatic day for a primary school and the heights of Kloofneck. But of course, our top story this evening: inclusive growth, job creation, better education, more investment, more tourism, and a crackdown on state capture and corruption. But also an admission from President Cyril Ramaphosa that infrastructure development has slowed down and more must be done to build new schools, houses and universities. The State of the Nation address is still underway in Parliament this evening, and we will be updating you on key points from the speech as they come to us. But let's touch on some of the big messages we've heard so far this evening.
To prove that our investment conference was not just a talk shop where empty promises were made, as we speak, projects to the value of 187 billion rand are being implemented, and projects worth another 26 billion are in the pre-implementation phase. That is progress.
Of course, another focus tonight on job creation from the President. He says there are plans and initiatives to try and stimulate more jobs. Agreements are being put in place between organised labour, the private sector and government. This is what he said.
Our greatest challenge is to create jobs for the unemployed of today, while preparing workers for jobs of tomorrow. The Presidential Job Summit last year resulted in concrete agreements between organized labor, business, community, and government. These agreements, which are now being implemented by social partners, aim to create 274,000 additional direct jobs every year. And this is apart from the normal jobs that the economy and businesses will be creating of their own volition. We are now on the cusp of seeing more jobs being created in our economy.
The President also wasted no time in dealing with the issue of corruption and state capture. On introducing new NPA boss Shamila Batoy, the President confirmed they're trying to stabilise and restore the credibility of the NPA, SARS and the police service.
We've also had to deal with the effects of state capture on vital public institutions, including our law enforcement agencies, whose integrity and ability to fulfill their mandate had been eroded in recent years. We have therefore acted to stabilize and restore the credibility of institutions such as the National Prosecuting Authority, the South African Revenue Service, the State Security Agency, as well as the South African Police Service.
Well, of course, a big issue and a big concern for the President and the whole country is the state of Eskom. He has a little earlier in his speech alluded to the concerns that something must be done, that Eskom has to be rescued. And the speech is underway. Ted Blom, energy expert, thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening.
Much talk and much speculation about whether Eskom is going to be unbundled, separated into three separate entities: generation, transmission, and what's the third one?
Distribution.
Right. So will that solve Eskom's problems?
I'm not sure that that's all that's required, and I'll tell you why. Eskom has been operating these three divisions separately, by and large, for more than 20 years, as far as I can remember, perhaps even 30 years. And that isn't the problem. Isn't the control over the divisions? The problem is the performance or lack thereof of the entity as a whole. It's a cultural problem, it's a behavior problem, it's an ethics problem. So I think merely separating them, it might be the first step, but it's cosmetic because a whole restructuring needs to happen.
Of course, separating those three doesn't necessarily mean privatizing them, but I believe that the President is, as we speak, speaking on Eskom. Let's take a listen now, live to the speech. Okay, we understand that we don't actually have that feed, but my producer is telling me in my ear he is dealing with Eskom right this very minute. Sure. So obviously we don't want to preempt what he's saying, but he is speaking about unbundling. We know that this is a big issue for NUMSA and for the different unions. Let's listen to the President. I believe we have that feed now.
This plan, Eskom will need to take urgent steps to significantly reduce its costs. It will need more revenue through an affordable tariff process. We need to take steps to reduce municipal non-payment and confront the culture of non-payment that exists in some communities. Now, this culture of non-payment has spread throughout the country, and we would like to call on all South Africans that it is imperative that all those who use electricity, over and above the free basic electricity that is provided, that they should pay for the electricity that they use. Government will support Eskom's balance sheet, and the Minister of Finance will provide further details on this in the budget speech in a few days.
Well, there's just a snippet. He is now speaking about Eskom. Unbundling is not necessarily the answer. Unbundling doesn't necessarily mean privatization, but even the mere suggestion by that independent task team to look at unbundling has the unions up in arms. In an election year, do you think we'll see really any big steps to boldly change the way Eskom operates?
Well, Eskom just can't carry on operating on a business as usual scenario. In fact, I've predicted, and I've gone on record, I did it 5 years ago, and I'm now confirming that prediction, that by the end of March this year, Eskom in its current state will cease to exist. The creditors will pull the rug if something drastic doesn't happen. The
President has said that is non-negotiable. We cannot allow Eskom to fail. What's going to fix Eskom?
Well, he's mentioned the support from government side. I think that'll help alleviate the market jitters on Eskom stock. That's the one thing. But the other thing is that he actually needs to commit himself to a full forensic audit into the misdemeanors of Eskom since 2007.
But we've seen probes into Eskom. Surely that's going to take time and won't solve the immediate problems.
The Zondo Commission is a storybook. However, to get to the exact numbers and the depth of and the quantum of the corruption, you need an audit, forensic audit. And I predict that if that happens, it will make Bosasa look like a Sunday picnic.
We understand that the President is now in the process of announcing the unbundling of Eskom. This could still mean that they're independent state-owned entities. Is that a good first step in your view?
I think it's a move, and to get movement out of government is actually quite phenomenal. So I think as a first baby step, that could be, but if he wants to prevent the meltdown of Eskom by the end of March, he's gonna need to move a hang of a lot faster than he's moving at the moment. And as far as the unions are concerned, I think they need to be given a holistic picture. They're not being given a holistic picture. They are worrying about the jobs at Eskom. The fact of the matter is, if these issues aren't addressed, we're going to lose more than 3 million jobs in the sector, in the private sector. Surely it's worthwhile sacrificing some jobs at Eskom, around about 35,000 at the max, and protecting 3 million innocent jobs, because the people at Eskom are not innocent. They're all part of the gravy train. So I would rather say, let's clean up Eskom, and then generate new jobs and sustain the current jobs in the private sector. And that, within 2 years, I reckon it will grow the economy or the jobs market by more than 3 million jobs if we fix up the Eskom problems.
So definitely it is breaking news now. The President has announced that Eskom will be unbundled. There will be strong reaction from the union, but it's interesting what you say, that collaboration, discussion, bring everybody on board is the only way to solve this. Ted Blom, thank you so much for your insights this evening.
Most welcome, ma'am.
Well, combating corruption, of course, is also top of mind for the President, and some progress potentially today. Former prisons boss Linda Mti has been charged with corruption. The previous COO of Bosasa, Angelo Agrizzi, claims Mti was paid 65,000 rand a month in bribes. What's more, Bosasa allegedly built a house to Mti's taste in exchange for favours. Now, he's also accused of sharing confidential government information with the facilities management company. Mti's been charged in the Specialised Commercial Crimes Court. 6 other people and 3 Bosasa-linked companies are also accused of corruption, and the Hawks are now working with the authorities in the United States to bring another accused back to South Africa. Mti and his co-accused are back in court on the 27th of March. He's been released today on 20,000 rand bail. Of course, Mti was rather abrupt. You heard that clip earlier when he was confronted by journalists. Certainly not a good day for him. Still ahead on eNews, we'll bring you all the breaking news from Sona. The news just in, of course, Eskom is to be unbundled. And later, while dignitaries were preparing for the State of the Nation address, 2 fires broke out just up the road from Parliament, one at a primary school, the other in the Kloof Neck area. All that and more in a moment. We move now to Mpumalanga, where it is confirmed that 6 people have died at the Koenfontein Gloria coal mine shaft at Blinkpan. It's believed more than 20 miners are still trapped underground at the disused mine shaft, this after a gas explosion yesterday. Spokesperson for the mine, Mike Elliott, says the illegal miners were there to steal copper.
We were informed on Tuesday by the community that there were 22 of their people were missing, and they'd gone to Gloria to steal cables underground. We came out to the mine. We established that there had been an explosion underground, and we tested the atmosphere, found that it was poisonous. So we called out the mine rescue services. We have specialist trained people to rescue people and recover people from underground. They were busy arriving when the community decided to go underground, and they forced their way past the police, who had a heavy presence in the area. They forced their way past the mine security. They climbed over the fences and they went underground, despite being warned that it was extremely dangerous and a poisonous atmosphere.
It was a dramatic day in Cape Town today with 2 separate fires. The first at the Holy Cross Primary School. Our reporter Atim Tungana was at the scene earlier.
No one has been injured at this stage, including the primary children from this Holy Cross school. Now I'm going to move out of shot so you can see exactly what firefighters are currently doing right now, trying to put out this fire, which started earlier on this afternoon. And as you can see, firefighters still battling with the blaze inside the school premises. It's a section of the school that is currently now in flames. We don't know yet what started this fire, but you do have a very quick response from the city's fire service.
Well, that fire has now been contained. It did cause extensive damage to the primary school. Thankfully, all the young learners were successfully evacuated from the Holy Cross Primary School in Cape Town. But then later in the afternoon, another fire in the mother city, possibly sparked by the scorchingly hot temperatures in Cape Town today. The blaze started in the Kloof Neck area. 3 helicopters and 14 firefighting vehicles had to be deployed to contain that blaze. No residents were evacuated. Here's Atim Tungana again.
More resources to this fire in Kloof Nek. It started around the Glen area, and because of the dry vegetation in this area, the fire went across the vegetation area here in Kloof Nek. And I'm just going to move out of shot so you can see right now the smoke. I'm sure you can not really see the actual fire. It's down there at the bottom of the Glen where we are. It's close to several properties in the Camps Bay area, and you have firefighters who have dispatched aerial support as well as ground crew support to try and battle out this blaze.
And we understand that blaze is now under control this evening. Now, some exciting news from the Southern Cape Coast. French oil giant Total has made a significant natural gas discovery. Total has been drilling about 180 kilometres off the coast of Mossel Bay. Now, they were hoping to find oil, which would have been a game changer for South Africa, but the gas find will also boost the country's ailing economy. Total stopped exploration in 2014 due to the harsh offshore conditions. The company then imported another rig from Norway, which proved successful in finding gas reserves in the deep waters.
Good stuff.
And after the break, we're going to go to our weather centre to get all our weather news. And then it wasn't all about politics and networking. It was also about fashion, and that red carpet will bring you some of the good and different outfits that were worn.
Welcome to the Weather Centre, everyone. Tropical moisture is currently being brought down from further northwards, and that's going to reach the Northern Cape overnight. So a wet start to your Friday for parts of that province. And as the day goes on, the showers and thunderstorms spread into the central interior of South Africa and then reaching Mpumalanga, KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape as well. Good news for people along the western coastline. It is going to be a cooler day for your parts tomorrow after today's extreme temperatures in the region. Moving ahead to your city forecast, wet weather settling in for much of the Northern Cape, especially in the north of the province where widespread showers and thunderstorms are likely. But for the Western Cape, mostly dry conditions, foggy at first along the western coastline where it will be cooler. But as you head inland, those temperatures do stay very high. Very hot conditions for much of the Eastern Cape with thunder showers likely for some places. And similar conditions in the forecast for KwaZulu-Natal as temperatures climb into the mid-30s for the interior, but that's also where we could see some thunder activity. Thundery conditions developing on the Mpumalanga Highveld, but for Mkondo, Bombela as well as Skukuza, it looks as though it stays dry on your Friday. Dry as well for Limpopo, partly cloudy skies for many areas, but the rain stays away. And then into the northwest, we'll see a dry afternoon for Rustenburg, but as you head further westwards, the likelihood of rain increases with a 60% chance for Vryburg and Bloemhof. There's also a 60% chance of showers and thunderstorms for the Free State. Those will be developing in the afternoon and lasting well into the evening. And then finally for Gauteng, where only isolated thunder showers are likely, and it's going to be another warm to hot afternoon across the province. Let's take a look at what your weekend weather will be doing. And on Saturday, it stays wet for much of the country's interior, with showers and thunderstorms continuing for the Northern Cape as well as the Free State. And the pattern doesn't change very much into Sunday, but we will see some wet weather then settling in along the south coast as well. That's all from the Weather Centre. Goodbye for now.
Well, the State of the Nation address is almost finished, but of course it isn't only about politics. It's also a platform for the country's lawmakers and VIPs to show off their fashion sense. Let's take a look at some of this year's outfits that have stunned, shocked or left us in awe.
From the glitzy and glamorous,
the shoes are on point, these outfits are on point, she's shining bright like a diamond.
We decided on gold because it needed to look glamour and glitter.
To the creative and meaningful.
This represents the land question issue.
It's in solidarity with my Ethiopian sisters.
Every year the country's top politicians dazzle on the red carpet, and this year they didn't disappoint. But while some err on the side of caution, there are those who prefer to push the limits.
This is Lillian Volmerans, dressed in blue and cleavage galore.
Karabagil, Johannesburg.
Well, let's recap your top story of the evening. And of course, it's all about the State of the Nation address. I can tell you the breaking news from that address. There are two items. Of course, we heard a little earlier in the bulletin that Eskom is to be unbundled into 3 separate entities. We'll get more details of that in the days to come. And he has just announced new powers to fight corruption for the new head of the NPA, Shamila Bitoy, to be established in her office an investigative directorate with the powers to deal with serious corruption. And that's where we'll leave it for tonight. Have a great evening. Good night.